One player is popping off turn 3, another still playing lands on curve, and somebody wins out of nowhere with 2 cards no one has seen all game. It's not just a power imbalance. It's not bad deck building. It's a mismatch in expectations. And today I'll show you the most important concept I use in my own deck building, but also understanding why Commander games feel the way they do. It's called Escalation Theory. We assume Commander games are supposed to build up. Start small, ramp, deploy bigger threats, and eventually reach a payoff. But what happens when someone skips the build and ends the game early? Or when someone takes forever to do anything and then suddenly wins out of nowhere? It doesn't feel wrong because someone won the game. It feels wrong because the shape of the game broke. As a washed and retired CDH grinder,
how many cards in hand, Grixis?
I spent years testing the most efficient lines and finessing how timing is power. I developed the window theory, one of the most foundational frameworks used by high-level CDH players today. But how does advancing CDH thinking lead to informing the overall gameplay experience of Commander? We need to turn back time a little.
Hello everyone!
As part of my application to the old RC, I was asked, how would I improve Commander? And on the plane flying to Bellevue for a CDH tournament years ago, I wrote Escalation Theory as the visualization of effect and value. Not to win more games, but to make Commander better. Escalation Theory says, every Commander game follows a curve. The curve is made on an axis across timing in turns and effective value, which is measured in a very general and abstract way. Value is most easily determined by permanents on board, creatures, enchantments, artifacts, and so forth. If you do nothing and play lands every turn, you can expect your own curve to look steady like this, because of a steady mana potential. But this curve can be manipulated. As you play more mana sources like dorks or rocks to increase your mana potential across turns, thus allowing you to make bigger plays and invest more mana's worth of effect into the game either through spells or permanents. The phrasing mana's worth of effect is also important to acknowledge because some decks set themselves up with lots of mana to take one really big turn, but the cards they've played in the past few turns may not have significantly improved their board, like playing cantrips or loot effects. This curve is the representation of why scale matters and why synergistic engines are so valuable in Commander. Because of greater time and life pools, you need to escalate your curve to a certain threshold to stay relevant. But as most of you know, value can come virtually and also affects the curve. Even if you didn't play a big dino in your mid game, translating your mana into more cards off of one large draw spell, or adding another drip feed of draw from a Phyrexian Arena greatly increases your potential for making bigger plays, which is some value. And with stacks or removal, you can adjust each other's curve by taking out a key piece of their board or playing a permanent that negates the effect of a player's board state. The point isn't to create an exact measure of how games go. The point is to acknowledge that there are different trends to different brackets, metas, whatever you want to call it. And each player wants to escalate to victory. And every deck, play pattern, and win condition interacts with that curve. The real problem? When your deck expects one curve and the table delivers another. Back in the golden age of RTS games, the post-game screen had tidy graphs for resources, army strength, and your tech curve. It didn't matter if you lost. If your line had a good arc, the game felt satisfying. Commander has that same curve baked in. You build, you scale, and you finish with a fleet of battle cruisers. But when someone abruptly finishes the game by dropping a wave of nukes when you're building up your first army, or 20 Zerglings show up before you even get your first barracks up, the resolution isn't satisfying. Some will enjoy the rush of figuring out how to play into this cutthroat world of meta strategies, but many will also just want to play against the AI so they can make a big army. Escalation theory is the idea that every Commander game progresses through a growth curve, and the quality of gameplay experience depends on how well everyone's curve aligns. It's not about making decks slower or more fair, it's about alignment. CDH games follow escalation too, they just compress the timeline. The key insight is this: it's not which curve you follow, It's whether the table is on the same one. Let's look at how this plays out. For CDH, everyone's curve is fast, tight, and ends suddenly, and it's great if everyone's signed up for that. And in casual battlecruiser, everyone ramps, builds engines, and swings big. The fun is in the build-up, but drop a combo in there, and people feel cheated, not because it's unfair, but because it's off rhythm.
Nuclear launch detected.
And using this lens of rhythm, along an expected curve, we can understand why certain cards create negative play experiences. For Dockside, it's acceptable in metas where action is compressed into less turns, and more salt-inducing in longer games where players expect their curve to be more reasonable rather than the large spike that Dockside enables. For Thassa's Oracle, it skips the arc completely. It ends the game early if the deck was designed to use it that way. And for Coalition Victory, while they may seem fair and underpowered, they follow the curve and end it in an unsatisfying manner. This isn't to say they should be banned or unbanned. This is just evaluating how they can create poor game experiences by thinking about how they fit into the gameplay curve. Escalation Theory explains why some cards spark salt and others don't, even when they do the same thing. And this is the core truth. Friction in Commander often isn't about what happened, it's about when it happened relative to the table's curve. So this also explains that people keep hands to scale, not to stop each other. The curve they're playing towards is about escalation. So when you sit down in a casual pod and no one has removal, it's because they're building decks and playing towards the expectation that everyone's growing. So how do you actually use Escalation Theory? In deck building, think about how the cards in your deck affects the curve of your game plan. Is it simply additive, or does it help you scale? Check out the video on turbochargers and playing more scaling effects to maximize efficiency of your cards here. And in play, Escalation Theory helps you visualize in an abstract way how much value your opponents are developing in their curve. And it helps you imagine where they are going, who is ahead or behind, and how far they could get capped by the right piece of removal, giving you more clues on how and who to interact with. Not every game needs to be a symphony, but most players want their decks to sing a little. Escalation Theory isn't about how good your deck is. It's about how clear your experience is for you and everyone else at the table. And also, while I have you here, please subscribe to my Patreon to help support creating videos that help you build decks better, but also makes you a better podmate. Thanks for watching. Okay, this time, I know what the video's saying. Basically, they're saying that Commander is like a line, right? Which is like kind of weird if you think about it, because I always thought Commander was more like a pizza, you know? Because like everyone is bringing their like toppings onto like the pizza and everyone's like sharing the pizza, you know? So I guess that makes it like more of like a triangle circle. Oh, now I'm like getting confused. Okay, while I'm thinking about the pizza, y'all should definitely check out the videos like up over here on the screen. One of them, I don't know which side, talks about how you should be like deck building without like lists and stuff and more like off vibes, which is pretty cool. And the other one is like talking about how many card draw you should be playing. Damn, I want some pizza now. Yo, senpai, can we get some pizza tonight?